So today we're going to work on making estimations. This is slightly different to the approximating that you did last lesson, but it is going to use some of that approximation skill. So my first question is to remind you of how to round to significant figures. So Pedro's woken up and he's feeling particularly interested in the temperature today. But his phone has inexplicably started rounding the temperature to the nearest one significant figure, so it's not particularly useful. And it says that today will be 40 degrees centigrade. So I'd like you to pause the video and think, what is the lowest possible temperature that it could have been for it to be rounded to one significant figure and be 40 degrees centigrade? And what's the highest possible temperature that it could be? And is this temperature reasonable? Is this range reasonable? Is it something that it could be today, or has Pedro's phone got it wrong? So pause the video here, please, and I'd like you to write down your answers. So I should see everybody writing before you move on to see the answer. Okay, so if we think about it, the lowest possible temperature, well, we know that if a number is 5 or above, we'll round up. So if we had 35 degrees or above, we'd round up. So the lowest possible temperature is 35 degrees. If it's less than 5, we round down. So the highest possible temperature is 44 degrees, to the nearest whole number. And no, it's not really reasonable that that would be the temperature, at least at this time of the year. Okay, so let's have a look at making estimations then and what that means. So basically when we estimate, we round everything to the nearest one significant figure. And that's going to make calculations a lot easier and a lot clearer. And we try and go for easy numbers to calculate with as well. So for example, here we've got a car travelling 527 kilometres in 4.5 hours. And you need to work out its average speed. Now that's not a calculation that you could necessarily do in your head. So instead we round these to the nearest one significant figure. So the distance, 527, becomes 500 kilometres to one significant figure. Notice that we write this afterwards to show that you have rounded. The time becomes 5 hours to one significant figure because it's 4.5, so we round up. And we know that speed equals distance divided by time. So in order to do this calculation now, all I need to do is the distance 500 divided by the time, 5. Much easier. So I know that it must have been going at around 100 kilometres per hour. Now obviously that's not the exact value, but that's going to give me an idea of what is sensible for the answer. So if I then did this calculation and I got 300 or 500, or if I got a very small number like 1.5, I'd know that something had gone wrong and I'd need to go and check because it should be something around 100. So estimations tell us the kind of number that we're aiming for. It tells us whether our answers are sensible. And it should be something that's easy for you to do in your head. We don't always have to follow the rounding rules for this. So if in this example my car was actually travelling for 6 hours, normally we'd round 6 up to 10. But in this case you can still, you can still round it back down to 5 to make it easier for yourself. Okay. So always pick a number that's close, and 5 is nice and close to 6, and that makes your calculation easy. So, I'd like you to have a go now at exercise 1K, which is on pages 19 to 20, and covering all of the questions, please. Pause the video here. The answers are going to pop up when you press play again, so make sure you pause before you do the questions.